Hi, I'm Arti Jagwal, founder and creative director of House of Arti. We are a clothing brand revolutionizing luxury fashion for petite women.
Amazing. And Artie, what is your favorite part about being a designer?
My favorite part about being a designer is having the opportunity to collaborate with many talented and highly creative people such as models, photographers, being present and learning from them.
Where do you draw your inspiration from when you're designing collections?
A variety of sources that I do draw my inspiration from, such as other artists, paintings, different environments and their cultures. However, my core inspiration niche would be modern minimalism. I love its characteristics of simplicity, its clean lines, and its monochromatic palette. And it also leaves a little bit room for something spontaneous. But overall, I feel it has a feeling of timelessness and it plays a huge influence on the creative direction of the house.
I don't know if you know, but I go to fashion school as well. And I feel like some inspiration kind of hits you at the most random times. That's such a difficult question, like where do you draw your inspiration from? Because it can literally be anything, like the slightest little thing, maybe a building that you see, you're like, wow, that just made me think of a silhouette or something new. How do you take down those notes when you get those random spurts of inspiration? What does that look like for you?
When I get those random inspirations, I always have like a book nearby me, or I just take out my phone, jot it down, take pictures, keep it in an archive.
How did you know you wanted to get into petite wear?
Well, it's a lot more closer to home than you think because I'm actually petite in size as well. I've always admired luxury fashion and how it was advertised, like on the runway or even in Vogue magazines. But I always felt left out that these products weren't available to me, not because I couldn't afford it, but because of the sizings. And I had this idea of creating a petite wear brand when I was around 19 years old and I was studying fashion at RMIT in Melbourne, Australia. I knew I was not the only one who had this daily struggle of finding well-fitted clothing, let alone luxury pieces. I knew I was onto something and I knew this could be a good addition to the industry.
What has been the most difficult experience you've faced so far in the luxury sector of the fashion industry?
The most difficult experience will probably be on the production side. During the early stages when I was sourcing manufacturers from around the world and sharing my tech packs with them. And I also shared my own specific body measurements because I wasn't using the current industry petite sizing ones. And the feedback from the manufacturers that I did a few samples with, they asked if I was doing kids clothing and later stated that the model who was wearing my sample looked like a child. And in that moment, I knew that they were not the right fit for a long-term partnership as they did not value or put much effort into understanding my brand or my desired outcome. But now we're working with great overseas manufacturing teams that are meeting our requirements and we're seeing a positive partnership forming in the long term.
Wow. So that just goes to show that it's not just fashion critics, right? It's not just people watching these runway shows, it's literally the manufacturers as well. That's really upsetting to hear that they even had that reaction in 2023 when we should be inclusive towards everyone. So that's really upsetting. But I'm glad that you were able to find a manufacturer who was able to accommodate your brand, because at the end of the day, the majority of the world is short. And so it's crazy to me why, I think it's 5'4" to be specific. I think that's the average. Yeah. It's crazy to me that the fashion industry just can't change their views. Like, it's insane. And it just shows that every little bit of the industry is showing these standards. So that's really, really upsetting. But to go a little bit more into depth on your take on the industry, do modeling agencies limit representation when you request petite models?
Hard, yes. It's almost impossible to request petite models. I get turned down 95% of the time and get pushed over by them to work with the taller models. And they really make me feel as if what I'm asking for is ridiculous. Most of the time, I reach out to my own network of petite models through social media, or I ask photographers I worked with for recommendations on petite models they worked with in the past and if they'd be a good fit for my brand.
Let's kind of walk some people through the process just so they get a better understanding. Go to an agency. You request for a petite model. What do they say to you? I know you said that they kind of try to sway you to cast tall models, but what does that conversation look like?
So when I get responses back from them, it will be like, sorry, we don't carry these models, but these are the other models that we have, and most of them are above, like I work in centimeters and meters, so the shortest I'd get is like 167 centimeters.
Wow.
And yeah, and they'd be like, that's the shortest we carry, this is like, you know, the best fit for your brand. It's a hard no.
Yeah.
Like, we don't carry, sorry, try someone else.
So that's the other thing. I feel like it's a lot of pointing fingers, especially from a model's perspective. From my perspective, it's like these agencies say, well, the designers don't want petite models, but you've just come up with this point, and obviously you need petite models for your brand, because if your whole brand is for 5'2" and under, and an agency is just going to say, well, here's a tall model, that doesn't make sense, right? That why would you use, you know, a tall model if your brand is a petite woman? So that just goes to show that there's a lot of pointing fingers, and the industry is trying to tell models that they won't scout them because there's not a need for them, but clearly there is. So that's a really interesting point of view from a designer, that you actually do need them. Do you feel like the fashion industry has a different perception on petite fashion lines versus petite models?
I think it's the same. I feel the fashion industry turns a big blind eye to the word petite, whether it's about clothing or models. To be honest, I think the fashion industry doesn't consider petite fashion or models desirable. Back when I was studying fashion, and I also worked in the fashion industry over the past few years, you can't even utter the word petite because the responses are honestly just disappointing. I think people take petite fashion as unnecessary or not cool enough to create attention or worthy of the bigger stages.
What was your response in school when you would kind of propose your ideas to lecturers, to students when you're in fashion school about your petite luxury brand? What were their responses?
Their facial expression was like, oh God, no. I actually haven't gotten any good responses. When I did pitch that idea of, like, you know, my petite brand, they were like, well, if you struggle finding clothing, why don't you just alter it yourself? Because you know how to do it.
This is the problem. This is the problem. To go off of that a little bit, I don't know about you, and I'm sure it's probably the same situation, but I do not have a single pair of jeans that's an extra small 00. I have never found a pair of jeans that fits my legs and my waist. The waist is never on. Either my waist is on or the hem of the bottom of the jeans is off. Like, it's dragging on the floor, no matter the size. So I feel like I'm always having to hem my jeans. And granted, I know how to sew. Both went to school for fashion design. But what if you don't know how to sew? And you always are having to get your pants fixed, or you're always having to get this seam fixed. It's just an incurring cost on the customer, and it's not fair to just say, well, yeah, you're short, just fix it. Right? It's so crazy. As a customer, we should be demanding that things actually come in our size, because everyone is made up of all shapes and sizes, all heights. So we all need to find something that fits us and something that we're happy in. So that's crazy that in fashion school, this is what tutors are telling young designers, kind of putting them down in that aspect, because I'm sure that didn't feel good to hear that from, you know, maybe someone that you look up to even. Because I know I have a lot of friends that I look up to, and if they told me that, I would be disappointed. I can only imagine how you felt. I don't really get weird looks when we talk about like petites in the industry, but what I do see is that my school has castings for fashion designers. And so if they're looking for models, you know, they'll post these castings through the school. And my school is deemed as really inclusive in ideas and just every aspect of the fashion industry. But these castings always say 5'9" and above, preferred height. So I can still apply, technically, but because it says preferred height, how is that inclusive? Just don't say that at all if you're actually an inclusive school, you know what I mean? Just putting these ideas in young designers' heads, I feel like is a big problem, because it's shaping them in a way to see the industry in a certain light, which I think is bad, and I think that really needs to change.
That definitely needs to change as well, because we both are experiencing it firsthand, and I'm pretty sure that other petite designers out there are also facing it if they ever bring out the words petite fashion.
Right, it's really unfortunate. This is the thing, people, they don't understand how difficult it truly is, you know, to put yourself out there when people are just constantly shutting you down. So we do kind of have to show the harsh sides of the industry and what we do face. But to gear towards a more lighter topic, what do you suggest aspiring models do to get started in the industry from a designer's perspective?
Since starting my brand, I've been actually getting a lot of messages from aspiring petite models asking me these questions. The best thing to do is to start collaborating with local photographers or designers in your area to build up a portfolio. I recommend to do a variety of shoots, for example, like some editorials, some studio shoots of like professional portraits taken of yourself. And the main idea is to get comfortable being in front of the camera. When you feel you built a strong folio and you're ready to take the next step in your career, then reach out to brands you want to work with and share your portfolio with them.
So what do you look for specifically in models that you cast?
Well, as we all know, runway casting is quite different, but however, when it comes to like seasonal campaigns, I focus on how confident and comfortable a model is in front of the camera. I also like to see different images of them in different scenarios, as I mentioned previously, like editorial, studio shoots, and so on. Then I hop onto their social media, mainly Instagram, and just to get a better understanding of who their personality is and their personal branding, and see if they'll be a best fit for my brand.
Right. And so I like that you just touched upon that you go and check their social media. So I teach modeling classes, and that's a big aspect that I always touch upon, because I say, especially if you're not signed, the first thing the designer or casting director, what they're going to do is go straight to your social media. And so if you're not signed, I kind of say use Instagram as your like portfolio. So you go onto these modeling agencies' websites and click on a model, see their whole portfolio. Kind of use Instagram as that for you, a free platform as well. But if you're reaching out to designers, casting directors, of course they're going to go click through and see your Instagram. So I always say try to post professionally or stay true to yourself, really, and just so designers can kind of see your personality a bit better, because at the end of the day, you're representing you as the model or representing the brand that you're working with. And so you kind of want to be on the same page with how you present yourself and things like that. They're representing you at the end of the day. So you just touched upon that. So that just proves my point of definitely use social media to your advantage and get to show and portray your personality on there. Let's talk about New York Fashion Week, because this was such a major moment in fashion history. If you guys don't know, this is such an amazing thing to say. I'm so excited for you. House of Artie is the first luxury petite brand to be shown during New York fashion history. Aside from this interview, look at her collection, look at everything, because it's so amazing. But it's taken to September of 2022 to finally get a petite brand into New York Fashion Week. So what was that moment like for you, becoming the first petite luxury fashion brand to be shown during New York Fashion Week?
Well, thank you. For me, for the first time in my life, I felt like I had a purpose and something worth fighting for. And speaking to you all backstage after the show and seeing how excited you all were, I think that was the best moment for me, more than the show, to be honest. I still remember your facial expression, and I remember you like jumped out your seat and you were like, what? I will remember that day for a very long time.
And I know from my perspective, I can't even imagine what you feel like, because this is your own brand. But for me, being in that moment, I felt such gratitude and I felt such honor to have opened your show. So thank you for giving me that opportunity. But that to me was such a major highlight moment in my career, because I walked in 13 seasons of Fashion Week, but this by far was my all-time highlight, because the energy, just everything about that moment felt so special to me. And I will never forget that day. So thank you for that. But what does it feel like for you watching your stuff go out on the runway? Are you nervous? Are you excited? What are you feeling like when the models are going out?
I'm always nervous. Always nervous backstage. I don't think I'll ever stop being nervous.
People might be thinking you should be so excited, but there's so much more to it. The press can either love you or hate you, right? They can really change a whole message in a way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We might in the moment feel like everything, oh my gosh, that was so amazing. But the press could sometimes say things and it's just like, why have they said that? Let's talk about that a little bit more.
When it comes to the press, I was actually really nervous about what the press was going to say about me after, because it was the first time happening. Were they going to take it seriously? How it was going to be communicated after? That was a big nerve for me. Will people laugh? I mean, there were times that, people did laugh at things that I've done. So I was really scared for this one. It was such a big scale, New York Fashion Week. So those nerves were running really, really deep.
Right. I feel like the next day after any fashion week, you're just kind of scrolling through to see what the press has said. But let's talk about this press, because it was amazing press, because the message was taken amazingly, just as it should be. It should be taken in an amazing light, because you're doing such an amazing thing that needs to be done, and you're, trailblazing this movement within the industry. So we've been published in some major magazines. What did that feel like for you, seeing your brand published?
I was extremely glad being included in many well-known publications such as, Elle, Harper's Bazaar, Marie Claire as well. I mean, there were so many others really good ones we got, like from The Impression, The Cut. I did feel a sense of achievement because they've never showcased petite brands before. And I just hope in the future they showcase many more petite brands and, it becomes a standard.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree, because I think maybe someone at home watching this might be a bit confused of what we mean of, well, why wouldn't you have been included in press? And I can firsthand say that I have been taken out of things that I've been in. For example, I walked in Paris Fashion Week and I was treated like absolutely nothing when I was there. I was treated like I was so little, and I was belittled so much during that fashion week. And I was taken out of pretty much everything. So in the show I walked in, they've taken just me out. If people are wondering, like, again, what you mean about press, this is the harsh reality of press. They can do this to you. They can completely portray that you were never even there, right? They can make it like nothing happened. And so this is what will happen. They'll take models, they'll take designers out just because they don't feel like it, just because they feel like they want to keep the industry this certain way. So that's what we mean by scary press.
Yeah, I think that this season we definitely did get some scary press. There were a very few big publications that did purposely leave us out. They tagged every single person but us. They even showcased just a few pieces of our collection, but they refused to add in tags as they did for everyone else. Yeah, there were definitely press that took us out, and that's just disappointing. I was nervous for as well, like the press, how they were going to react, but we did manage to get some really good ones. We're going to keep showing up to Fashion Week, and they're going to keep watching our shows. And they're going to start including us and treating us as equals.
They're going to have to, right? Like, it's taken so long for us to get to this point, and now it's just go, go, go. I feel like the petite movement really starting this year. I feel like after September 2022 into the new year 2023, I think we're just fully using our voices, and we're not scared, and we're not going to back down. What do your next 5 years look like? What goals do you have for House of Arty?
Few years, I want to undertake more research and understanding of the different petite body types, such as plus size petite, and develop more designs for their body. And we're also looking to expand our brand reach and our team.
Amazing. I absolutely love that. So do you ship globally? When is your website going to be fully open? All of that good stuff.
So our website is officially live, so you can now shop the runway collection.
Amazing.
And free shipping worldwide.
That's amazing, because I know a lot of designers, they don't ship to everywhere, and that leaves out a bunch of people who want to be able to shop your stuff. But everyone, free shipping globally, so you're able to order Arty's collection straight from the runway, straight from New York Fashion Week. So that's really amazing. And lastly, what does fashion mean to you?
To me, fashion means celebrating and embracing oneself regardless of your gender, body size, or your ethnicity.
I love it. I agree. And also, where can everyone find you? That's really important as well.
You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, or our official website, which is houseofarty.com. Our website is live, like I mentioned, and you can shop our runway collection, or you can join our community or conversation on Instagram.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Arty.
Thank you so much, Marissa.